Okay, hello. Hello everybody. I hope that my OBS is working. Is it? Okay. Good morning. Good evening. Where are you guys? Hello friends. Mute myself. It's 2 a.m. Wow, okay. It's quite I was like, is it quite late or quite early? I don't know. It's certainly an interesting time. CVS Sato, hello. It's been a while. Hello, Elizabeth. I am from Peru. Thank you so much for everything you share here. Well, thank you so much for joining. Hello, everybody. Oh, it's so nice to see such familiar names. Oh, I hope you guys are doing well. More like good night. Okay, good evening. Okay, good evening. Good evening. Good morning. Um, good afternoon. I think somebody's in the afternoon right now. Good strange time of night. Anywhere between 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Strange times. Hello, my strange time friends. Can you increase the volume a bit? Yeah, sure, I can. I can do that. Actually, I think I'm at max gain right now, so I guess like that's the best I can do. I think, yeah, this is maximum gain already. I hope you can hear me. I guess I can move it closer to my mouth, so it just looks like I'm like speaking into the mic like this. Is that better? Okay, hopefully it's better. Um, Sound is good. Okay, cool. All right, shall we get started? Let's get started. Instead of me rambling, let's actually get started. I shall share my screen. Okay. That's not right. Why is it showing that screen? Technical difficulties today. It should be showing that. I'm confused. Okay, let me try again. Okay, so this is the YouTube. Okay. Oh, why is it so small? What? OBS is not my friend today. That's okay. I will make it really big. Okay. I think that more or less you guys can see that. Okay, so today we are going to be covering your building your first AI agent. I want to ask in the chat, put in the chat, have you built an AI agent before? Yes or no question. Yes, you've built an AI agent before. No, you have not built an AI agent. Is this really live? I hope so. I mean, I am doing it live. I'm currently alive. Don't make me doubt my own existence. You know, at some point, somebody was like, Tina, are you real? And I was just like, oh, that's a very shocking question. I had never considered that before. And then I had to like confirm with myself. I'm like, ah, yes, I'm pretty sure I'm real. Yes, I am live. And yes, I am real. Oh, dear. Okay, okay, good mix, good mix. Like a lot of people have never built an AI agent. We have a few here. Typical start of a live stream. That's not right. Everything is terrible. Yes, exactly. No, okay, a lot of people have not. Okay, great. This is wonderful. So in this case, this is gonna be a good start for you guys to actually start building your AI agents. Okay, let us get started doing this. Okay, so what we're going to be covering today, so I'm going to cover a framework for how to approach building AI agents from scratch. We're going to be covering the landscape, so overview of popular tools. I'll be covering some no-code tools and code tools as well. You can do it with both. So if you have the misconception that you have to know how to code in order to build an AI agent, that is not the case. There's definitely pros and cons to this, and we'll cover that as well. But it is possible, and a lot of people do it, who do it with no code as well. Show you some live demos of a few tools, and then also ending with some practical tips as you build your first AI agent. So by the end of the session, the goal is to have you'll have a clear roadmap to building your first AI agent, knowledge of some popular tools, so some choices, what you're going to build it with, and some practical insights to get started. Sounds good? Yes, wonderful. So I want to start off with just defining an AI agent, just so everybody is on the same page here. What is an AI agent? Wonderful question. An AI agent is an autonomous system that can perceive its environment, make decisions, and take actions to achieve specific goals. So we usually refer to AI agents as an agent for a specific function, like travel agent, right? Would be an agent that would be like booking your travels and trying to figure out where your vacation spots are going to be. You can have like personal assistant agent that's doing stuff like managing your calendars. Research agent is conducting research on specific topics. So that's how you normally refer to an agent. An agent is autonomous, so it operates without constant human intervention. It has tool use, it has access to a variety of different tools through different APIs and something called MCP, which we'll also discuss a little bit later on as well. It has memory, so it's able to remember context and past interactions with it as well. Don't want your agents like forgetting everything. And it has the ability to plan, so it's able to break down complex tasks into different steps. So those are the difference between an agent and a chatbot. A chatbot is something that you can talk with and it's like fun and chill and you can just like chat with it about stuff, but it's not able to actually do anything. An AI agent, on the other hand, is able to take actions in the real world by using tools, maintaining context, and working towards goals autonomously. So it has the action part in addition to just being able to chat with you. Okay, so I'm going to show you this, here is an end-to-end visual workflow plus an AI. And we're going to show you like a few demos that, yeah, I think I have like a few demos that I can show over here. So NA10 as a visual workflow is the way that you can do it with no code. And you're able to, it's a visual builder. You can just put things together really easily and just like literally drag and drop. Like it is literally drag and drop. Completely no code if you want it to be. And I'll actually show you in just a little bit what you can build using just NA10. And you're able to switch out different different types of my god, I can't talk today. Different types of AI models as well. So you can have it as GPT-4 powered, you can have it as powered by other stuff as well. You can stylize the output. So this is a screenshot of what it looks like. So I'm not going to go into a full like detailed tour of NA10 itself right now because that's going to take a while. But you can, yeah, it's just like a drag and drop interface that you can check out. We'll go more into the tools and stuff like that. But I just wanted to show you guys what it is that you can do when you can use no code to build something. So this is an example of an AI agent that you can build really, really easily as well. So this is an example of using Streamlit plus OpenAI Agents SDK. So this is a code approach. Excuse me. You can have an agent up and running literally within 30 lines of code. So this is like a task generator agent. By the way, these are all like agents that are built in our agents bootcamp. So yeah, in case you were wondering like what these are for. So in our agents bootcamp, like we start off with very simple agents, like creating an AI agent for stock management. So this is like the simplest approach for building AI agents. And this one is the code approach, what you would be building within the bootcamp. And it takes you like within 30 lines of code to be able to do. And yeah, this is a code implementation. So this is a task generator agent. You can enter your goal. Like I want to open a restaurant and it will generate certain tasks. Like here are your tasks, blah, blah, blah. And what it does is it takes any goal as input and your AI agent is able to analyze and plan it, return a structured task breakdown, and then just a real-time streaming response. Really simple. This interface is called Streamlit, and OpenAI's Agent SDK is the thing that powers the task generator agents, like the framework that powers it. This is done using Python code and literally 30 lines of code total. So however, I want to show you guys like some of the more fancy ones that you can build as well, because I think that's like, you know, I'm going to show you some of the cool ones that you can build as well. So this is also built in the AI agent bootcamp. So through the bootcamp, you literally start off with something super simple like this, and then you're able to like learn a lot of things and then at the end of it you'll be able to build something a lot more advanced as well. And this is still built using NA10. So this is the visual workflow using NA10. So it's still completely no code, but you can see like how much variation there actually is from a very, very simple AI agent all the way to something much more complex. So I'm actually going to run this demo first, and then I'll explain a little bit about the architecture of how it works. Okay, so this is the deployed version. So this is what it looks like when you're actually building it. It's an AI agent that is able to have access to a message and is able to have access to a lot of different things. And this, when you actually deploy it, this is what it would look like. I just want to make sure, like, can you guys actually see my screen properly? Can I go to, wait, yeah, oh my god, I'm like super paranoid about OBS right now. You guys can see my screen properly, right? Yeah, okay. All right, so just a quick little demo here. So tell me about your knowledge about the current job market in Canada. I would like to get up-to-date information on this topic. Send me the research as a report with a link. So we'll let that run for a bit. This is a AI agent that's called Atlas. And then while it's doing its thing, I'm going to explain the architecture surrounding it. So, okay, this is what it looks like. Your AI agent, you have a chat message that's being received, and then your AI agent is able to take that message and then has the ability of accessing a lot of these different tools. So the model itself is the OpenAI AI model. It's an OpenAI chat model. Has the model itself. And here is the architecture surrounding it. So you have your main agent. It has a RAG agent, which is able to access a database. So this is just PG vector store. By the way, you don't need to worry so much about like the terminology here. All it really is just like a database that's able to search things, and then it can search its knowledge base, retrieve documentation, and vector similarity search. So when we're asking it a question, oh wow, somehow we already did that. But yeah, when we're asking a question, surrounding getting information from the database, this is how it's able to do that. It also has a web search agent where it's able to use SERP API. It's a tool that allows it to real-time search the web for information like current events and news and external data retrieval. And it also has a communication agent that allows it access to the Google Docs API so it can create documents, professional formatting, and report generation. Over here, we also have like error handling, which is a graceful failure recovery. So if something does happen to the AI agent, it doesn't just like completely crash out and die, right? That's not good user experience. So there, I guess I don't know if I can demo the graceful error handling, but just gotta trust me with that one. It is there, so it won't just something bad happens over here. Yeah, and then for the RAG upload pipeline, this is where you're able to have a lot of the documents that are being ingested and all the information that's being stored. So this is the architecture of how that information, like how it is that the chat is being received and the access that the agent has to all the different types of tools that are over here. So you have the main orchestrator, which is this one, and then you have the RAG agent, which is an agent that does the RAG stuff. You have the web search agent, that is the agent that does all the web search stuff, and it has a communication agent, which is able to communicate with different, which has access to different, I cannot talk, different APIs, including the Google Docs API for you to do stuff. So this is also an example of a multi-agent system. So you can see that in like the simple agents, you just have singular agent, but this is a much more fancy agentic system. So that's why you actually have a main agent and you also have multiple agents that it has access to. So we're splitting things up together and then putting it back together again. So yeah, this is what is called a hierarchical architecture, because the main agent is able to go and interact with these different agents, and this is a hierarchy that's being established. So, and that was a lot of information. So let's actually see what it came up with. The question that we asked it was, tell me about your knowledge about the current job market in Canada. I would like to get up-to-date information on this topic. Send me the research as a report with a link. And it was able to get the current job market in 2023. Okay, as of October 2023, that is not correct. The job market in Canada is showing a general positive trend with fluctuations. Key highlights include employment growth, labor market, and then you can actually view the document. So it, instead of actually retrieving, that's interesting. Wow, you guys saw an error happen, because what it should have done is actually went and web search, but instead what it has done is actually went into the database and then got that information. So yeah, there you go. You saw an error that did happen. So it went, instead of going to the web search agent in order to make sure it has the right date and then get that information, compile it, it actually went and got the RAG agent, and then took the information from this vector store instead to create the communication. And the communication agent was going to get the Google Docs instead. So that was interesting. So I'm actually going to do here, and this is, yes, it is completely live. So I don't know if it's going to be able to do this. Do this for the current date. See if it actually does it. Waiting. Okay, while it's doing that, let me see if there's any questions that people have. Bad prompting, Tina. That's true. It is bad prompting. That is true. This is quite simple. So this is not simple. Just by the way, you can see that this is like multiple agents that are working together in order to do something. The experience that you have, that it feels like it's simple. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna be like, do this for 2025. It's supposed to do web search then. It is bad prompting from my side. Okay, whatever. Anyways, it was very bad prompting. I don't know what's happening over here, but this is the agent that is going through RAG, and then it's supposed to do communication. I probably need to prompt it a little bit better in order to actually get the results that we want to do over here. Anyways, I'll go see if I can go back to this and fix it later. But I do want to show you the multi-agent system. So that one was a no-code implementation using NA10. While the next one over here is the one that's also built using during the AI Agents Bootcamp, and you can see it is a lot more complex, like a lot more stuff that's happening over here. Let me actually see if anybody has any questions for this agent first. Ernesto, thank you so much. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and supporting me. Really appreciate it. I took the bootcamp. It is awesome. Thank you so much. Is this Google ADK? No, it's that was NA10, and this one is the one I'm going to be showing you now. It's going to be OpenAI's Agents SDK, not Google ADK. They're not that different though. Okay, I'm just looking at people's comments. Prove that this Tina is not a bot. That's true. Yeah, if I were a bot, I would not have made that mistake. Why not ask ChatGPT? That's a great question. If you were to ask ChatGPT, you could ask ChatGPT about this information, but say that you're the database that you have in there, right? What if it's information that you don't want to give ChatGPT, right? Like what if it's like information that ChatGPT doesn't have access to? And what if you actually want to take this agent and you want to create like a web interface, right? See the interface that we see over here? This is like a very simple interface that we have, but what if you wanted to create this into like a full-on application interface that has really cool UI you're able to get people to interact with it? You can build out so many other parts of your application. Then you can't just use ChatGPT for it because you would be limited to ChatGPT's interface. And there's also like things that you would want it to do that maybe ChatGPT isn't able to do directly. Like if you wanted to use a different like say for example, if you want to use a different model and you don't want to use GPT-4o, you can want to use like Gemini or Claude. You can't do that with ChatGPT. I mean, you can change like to different like you can use different models and just use other people's chatbots, but you're never going to have that control to be able to actually build the interface and the product that you want to build unless you go and build an agentic system yourself. So yes, that is why. Is the RAG document repository persistent where you need to upload each time? It is persistent. So you are putting all that information into the vector database and then you're able to access that information and it is persistent. Great refresher. Also took the bootcamp. Oh, hey Deha. Nice to see you again. Where's the GitHub Foundation link? Not sure what you're talking about. Which GitHub Foundation link? Let's see. Your mic is low. I'm already talking as close as I possibly do. Have a very quiet voice in person. That has always been a thing. Let's see. Well, I always struggle getting information from one sub agent to another one. Okay. That is true. So passing one agent along to another agent is actually it's like a whole thing. Like that's why prompting is really really important, as you can see, in order to actually pass that along. So in the multi-agent system, each agent has its own prompt, so it actually needs to know when it's supposed to pass the information on to the other agent afterwards. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next move on bit because we do have a lot that I do want to cover today. So this is the multi-agent system that is built using the agents, OpenAI agents SDK. So this is a code implementation, and this is the architecture here. It's like a lot. Yes, it is. That is a lot. So what I'm gonna do here, this is what it looks like, the code implementation. And I'm gonna ask this question, like, should I buy Apple stock? Provide a complete analysis with price target. And while it is doing that, I will explain briefly the architecture surrounding it. So you can see that this this interface is completely custom as well. You can like change these around if you want. Oh, let's hope that this live demo works. Okay, so this is a lot that is happening over here. Whoa, what's happening? Okay, so it's actually quite similar. You still have a user query that's coming into your portfolio manager agent, and then this agent is for investment research, right? And then after the user queries, your portfolio manager agent has access to these three other sub agents. The first one is a fundamental analyst, so it's able to do things like financial analysis, business quality, like valuation metrics, like fundamental analysis stuff, and it has access to tools like the code interpreter, the web search, whatever. And then you have the macro analyst that was looking at the economic environment, like things like interest rate and Fed policies and things like that, market conditions. And it also has access to web search, and it has access to the Fred API tool, which is for economic data specifically, and it has access to code interpreter as well. Then we have the quantitative analyst. So this one is looking at technical analysis. So it includes things like statistical modeling, price targets, and it has access to code interpreter with Y Finance, a Yahoo Finance API, and it has access to these tools as well. So these what's interesting here is like when we're asking this question, we're basically asking it to analyze it from three different perspectives: the fundamental approach, the macro approach, and the quantitative approach. Then we compile everything together and synthesize them all together into a final response and recommendation. So all that information is going to be coming together and synthesized, and you would be able to have a chat response in the UI, which hopefully we'll be seeing soon, and then also an investment memo, which is a markdown file that you can download and have information around it as well. So not super important, but if you are curious, this is what it looks like, the project structure from the code itself, and then the parallel execution as well. So this is how you're able to run all three agents simultaneously, so you're not having to like wait for one to run after another. All three agents, sub agents, are running simultaneously, and then everything is being compiled together. So for specialist agents, parallel processing, the database is a PostgreSQL database and a vector database, and the deployment is using Heroku. And it's still going. Okay, maybe we'll come back to this. And okay, wonderful. That's perfect. Okay, comprehensive analysis of Apple as of October 18th, 2025. Is it October 18th? It is indeed October 18th. Good job. Okay, so executive summary: Apple's robust financial health, innovative product development, strategic market positioning, blah, 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 all these things. So here's the fundamental analysis information, valuation context, and here's the macro analysis. So interest rate scenario analysis. Here's a quantitative analysis information here, portfolio manager, synthesis. So you combine all of these things together. The recommendation is to buy with a 12-month target of 280. Not financial advice, okay? Not financial advice. Don't go buy Apple stock just because our wonderful little agent here told us to do so. Anyways, yeah, so would you like to proceed? You can also look at the execution details as well. So here's the information of exactly what it is that's being called and how it is that everything is interacting with each other. So this is really interesting to look at if you do want to do this. So do I want to, what is it? Create a memo? Yes. So create memo as well. So we'll let it do that. While it's doing that, let me see if anybody has any questions. Can you share that document? Oh yeah, actually, oops, sorry, I forgot. Should have said this earlier. Please sign up for if you do want resources from this live stream. Like here's the, I should probably like, yes. So yeah, please do sign up here. And we'll email you the slides. Sign up there. Yes. Quit telling her she's muted. Audio is fine for me at this point. Okay. You're clearly. Thank you, Gregory. Appreciate it. Is this live? Oh my god, you guys, how many times are you guys gonna ask me this question? You're making me doubt my own existence. Is this live? Am I alive? Am I a person? Yes, I'm a person. Yes, this is live. Yes, I also happen to be alive. I'm as alive as you are. How about that? I see no GitHub on this display. There is no GitHub on this display. Why would there be GitHub on this display? Okay. You guys are trolling me. I'm just gonna stop trolling, okay? I'm fragile. Okay. This investment memo for Apple has been successfully created. You can access it here. Okay. I guess I cannot access it here. Okay. Oh shit. This is not going really well today. Not doing our best today. Anyways, generally speaking, it seems like live demos, you know? Let's just leave it as that. Live demos. Well, I did pull things correctly. Anyways. Oh, app. Oh, okay, got it. So I need to actually, it's in my like actual folder. Okay, got it. Okay, anyways. Yes, so it did work. I'm not gonna pull that up right now because I have to flip through a bunch of different folders right now to actually go in and actually get the markdown file. But basically it just put all of this information into a memo instead, and then you're able to have access to it and then do whatever you want with it, send it to your boss or something. So yes. All right, so those are my 2 live demos. Yeah, you can see these are a lot more complex than just building a simple agent, but I do want to like show you guys what you can do. And what's really cool is like throughout the bootcamp, like you literally go from building something as simple as a task generator agent within like 30 lines of code to building like a full out architecture like this, that you're able to have multi-agent systems and everything being put together. And you can do this both using no code and code. So gives you hope. You got this. Okay, so now I'm going to actually do the step-by-step framework for how to approach building an AI agent. So how do we actually do this? The first one is that you want to define your use case, right? So the first question that you want to ask yourself is like, what specific problem are you trying to solve? What task will the agent perform? Who will use this agent and what's the expected input and output? This is actually really important because if you're just like suddenly randomly building an AI agent for no reason, you're probably not going to build a very good AI agent. So that's why you need to actually start with defining like, what are you actually doing it for? For example, we had the research one for investments, right? So that was an example. You're defining the use case because you want to have a multifaceted approach for looking at an investment decision, and you want to have a lot of control over how the sub agents are going to be looking at, like what kind of information they're going to be compiling and how they're putting all the information together. So that would be the defining of the use case. The next step you want to do is choosing your approach. So the general categories is that you can go with like a no code, low code approach, or you can have a code based approach. The no code, low code approach is best for quick prototypes, simple workflows, and non-technical users. The pro is that it's fast, it's visual, it's easy to modify, and the cons is that it's less flexible and potential scaling limits. It also tends to be a little bit more expensive. While on the code side, it's best for more complex logic, customer integrations, and production systems. The pros is that it has full control, it's scalable, it's customizable, and the con is that it does require technical skills, so you do need to know how to code, and it has a longer development time as well. So you can choose based upon your skill set and your needs which one it is that you want to do, a no code approach or a code based approach. For every single agent, you also need to think about, these are the essential components that every agent needs. And we call this like the building blocks of AI agents. So the first one is that you need to have the large language model itself, so the brain of the engine, and you need to choose GPT-4, maybe Claude, Gemini, whatever, based upon your needs. Like maybe you want things that are faster, maybe you care a lot about pricing, then you want to maybe go with Gemini as opposed to Claude. If you care a lot about like quantitative stuff or code-based stuff analysis, then you probably want to go with Claude. GPT-4 is a very good all-rounder kind of model to start off with. You do need to choose what you want your large language model to be. Then your instructions. So you need to have clear prompts that define the agent's role, capabilities, and constraints so it knows what it's supposed to do. You have to give it tools like different functions that the agent can call, APIs, databases, calculators, whatever, that it needs in order to do its job. The memory is for storing the conversation and long-term information. So you need to like store all of that information so it's able to have access to it. So we saw the databases that we showed earlier. Those are examples of storage. Then there's guardrails, so you have safety measures and output validation. So I think these two steps are the ones that people generally tend to not pay attention to, but it's actually really, really important because you need to make sure that your output is valid, and you also want to make sure that it's not doing things that it's not supposed to be doing. Like your customer service agent, you don't want it to be like telling people life advice, right? So you need to actually test all of these things in order to do it properly. Then there's finally orchestration. So this is when everything comes together and you're actually doing a deployment that is there. So when you're doing a deployment, you also need to think about how it is that everything is being deployed together, and then also like how to scale it and all these other considerations surrounding the actual usage from your users too. So the pro tip here is that start simple. Just have like large language models instructions and 1 to 2 tools. Like just try to think about it as simple as you can. You can add complexity as needed, but you do want to keep these in mind that you do want these 6 different components while you're building your AI agent. Okay, so before I move on to talking about some of the code and no code tools, let's see if anybody has any questions. By the way, if you do feel like there's a lot that's happening over here, like don't worry about it. Just follow these steps through and just realize that there is a lot that you can build. Like we had like our bootcamp is 28 days long, right? So there's like, it does take significant amount of time to actually work up to building something that is much more advanced over here. So don't worry if it feels like there's just like a lot that's going on. I'm trying to like simplify it down to when you're building your first AI agent to all the way building a full-on like AI agent, you're still following the same steps that are here, but you're just increasing the amount of complexity, you're increasing the number of agents if you're doing multi-agent systems, and there's a lot more like tools and memory that you can add to it. But it does all follow the fundamentally, like it's the same approach and the same components that are being put together as well. Okay, see if anybody has any questions. Demo gossiping word. I know, right? Like even prior to this, I was actually talking to our team. I'm just like, oh my god, I hope the demo works. And I mean, it kind of worked. It more or less worked. I don't think I've actually done a live demo which everything worked perfectly before. But you know what? That proves that I'm real, huh? All right, I shall drink some water. How are the guardrails set? A lot of ways of doing this. OpenAI, for example, has like a full system where you can set these guardrails in place. You can also put in evaluations and testing, things like that. That's one approach of doing it. There's a lot of third parties as well that you can use to set these guardrails. Part of the guardrail is also putting into the prompt itself. So testing things and then putting the guardrails like never do certain things. You can literally explicitly tell it like never do certain things, like never swear your customers, for example. How do you guys feel about my picture of water? Stay hydrated, my friends. Thank you, Gregory. Appreciate it. Website says bootcamp is sold out. Okay, so we will be opening enrollment on the 21st. So if you haven't already, if you are interested, you should definitely check it out. I'll also put the link over here if you want to check it out. So when we do open it up on the 21st, we're opening up to the here, sign up for waitlist here. Yeah, we open it up to the waitlist first, and yeah, honestly, like thank you all so much for just, yeah, like last time it sold out within less than 30 minutes just on the waitlist alone. And then prior to that, it was less than an hour that is sold out. Only to waitlist alone as well. So if you are interested in the bootcamp at all, I recommend that you do sign up for the waitlist, because we open it to the waitlist before we open it to the public. But we actually haven't managed to open it to the public for the few times that we've run the bootcamp, because it's sold out completely on the waitlist really quickly. And thank you so much for that. Like, we are very, very grateful that is the case. But yes, we'll be opening up on the 21st, 100 spots only. We don't expand the number of spots because we want to make sure that everybody gets the attention that they need and they deserve in order to actually build everything. And it's 28 days. There is like a lot that we cover. So you saw all the way from the very beginning of the bootcamp to the end, you're covering a lot of different things and building things up in complexity. So we do keep the class sizes really small, like not really small, but 100 people, because that's the number of people we feel confident that we can make sure everybody has a really good experience. So that is why. Anyways, check it out if you're interested. We'll be enrolling in a few days. How much, please? It's $997 for the 28 days. Yes, US dollars. All right. Looks like not having any questions. No questions? Do we get to set up a passive income stream with this? Oh, I do have another workshop that I'm doing, but that sign up has already passed. I don't know if we'll do it again, but which I do cover like freelancing. In the bootcamp, I do cover it like in some of the Q&As, but I do have like the full workshop where I'm doing freelancing on day 1 and then content creation using AI, which is part of generating income stream by building agents and stuff like that on day 2. So I think that's happening end of this month. I forgot which day. I think it was the 29th that's happening. But yeah, that enrollment has passed though. So maybe we'll do another one in the future. How to get the code files. How use MD files to configure agent context. Well, the code files is going to be like where you're deploying it as, like that information, like the code files are going to be stored there, right? Because this is the deployed one onto the website. How use MD file to configure agent context. I guess you're using a markdown file in order to feed it stuff like prompts. That's probably how you would do that. That's how we do it. What is the tech stack for this AI agent? So it is on the slides, the AI agent tech stack. You can actually check it out. So this is the full architecture of it, and you can actually see like what the tech stack is, all the different tools that are there, and exactly what each agent is doing. So yeah, sign up for the workshop as well. I'm just gonna like put the link over here again. Sign up for the workshop. We'll email these slides afterwards. All right. Let us move on to popular agent building tools. So we've done like, we keep tabs on the tools that are coming out for AI agents, both like the no code tools and the code based stuff. And there are 15 that we gathered that we're keeping an eye out on. There's probably more, but the ones that seem decent, there's like 15, and then the code based ones right now, I'll say like 13 or so. What I do want to emphasize here, it's also what I say like over and over again in my videos, in the bootcamp, everywhere. It's don't focus so much on the actual tools themselves. Okay. Like, why is it that I went like blah, blah, blah? Like I talk about like all these things, right? Like, why am I talking about these frameworks and stuff like that? Not just for funsies. It's because when you understand the architecture and the structure and the process for how to build an AI agent, like these essential components, it doesn't actually matter as much what the tool it is that you're using is, because you can implement that using a lot of different types of tools. And the tools themselves are going to keep evolving, right? There's going to be new tools that are coming out. The current tools are going to become outdated, where they're going to keep becoming better and better. And we don't want to be like married to a specific type of tool, and then if something changes, like everything falls apart. You don't want to do that. Like, you want to have the ability to understand how to build an AI agent from a fundamentals perspective. So the implementation part is actually going to be the easy part of building this agent, and you're able to translate that into a lot of different things. That's why you can like build agents like this investments one, right? And this is using OpenAI's Agents SDK, but you can also build something like this, which is going to be using NA10, right? But you can see the architecture. They're both agents, and they're both using the same agentic pattern as well, which is a hierarchical pattern. Not going to go into much detail about that, but it's like but we're able to implement it by using different tools. So that's why like I emphasize so much, like don't be focusing so much just on the tools themselves. Understand the structure of what you're trying to build, understand the architecture and the elements that compose an agent. Among like that's the most important thing to actually know. Then the actual implementation part is going to be quite easy, and that can change and vary and as the tools get better and better themselves. Okay, so with that being said, let's talk about some of the tools. So here are the no-code tools that we keep our eye out, keep tabs on, and we're aware of. These are like visual builders for different types of skill levels. So when, as a reminder, when do we use no-code tools? So you want to do it for rapid prototyping, simple workflows, business users without coding experience, and quick MVPs as well. So here's the popular and accessible ones. Like this is the one that we use in the bootcamp. I think it's the most I think it is the most popular one these days, and it's also very, very flexible. So that's why we like using NA10. You can also do stuff like self-hosting and things like that, which you can decrease the cost significantly if you're using NA10 compared to some of the other ones. But there's also stuff like Make, there's Zapier Agents, there's Gumloop. This is specifically more for businesses. There's Relevance AI, Mind Studio. We also have listed ones that are more developer friendly and enterprise platforms, enterprise solutions. Enterprise platforms and solutions as well. So these are going to have more built-in safeguards, like guardrails that are there, privacy things, because that's what enterprises and companies would care about more. Yeah, so there's OpenAI Agent Kit, there's Google's Vertex AI, Amazon, Microsoft Copilot Studio as well, etc. So I'm not going to go into all of these in a lot of detail, but yeah, after you have access to the slides, if you are curious about the tools, I just wanted to make sure that we have everything here so you can go and dig into it and see what's available and what makes the most sense for you. Then we have the code-based options. So these are SDKs and frameworks for developers. So when do we use code? When we want to have things that have more complex logic, some more custom integrations, production deployment, full control over behavior, and more advanced use cases. Of course, the prerequisite here is that you do need to know how to code in order to use code-based solutions. Here are some of them, the official provider SDKs. Like we use the OpenAI Agents SDK for our Agents Bootcamp. The reason why we do this is very popular. And also, I really like how OpenAI's framework, they do cover a lot more than most SDKs do. Like all the elements that we see over here, it covers all of these, including guardrails and orchestration. So it's very fleshed out. If you use the OpenAI's SDK ecosystem, you're able to very easily do stuff like evaluations, testing, and have like specific guardrails in place. You also are able to have a vector store that is available too, and doing a deployment is super simple as well. So that's why we choose to use the Agents SDK from OpenAI for the bootcamp, but there's also other SDKs too, like the Amazon Bedrock one. There's Google's ADK. Somebody mentioned that previously. Microsoft also has ecosystem like AutoGen. This is an open source one. There's Semantic Kernel, open source SDK as well. And then here are some popular open source frameworks that you can check out too, like LangChain, LangGraph, Curie, AutoGPT, etc., etc. So again, not going to go into too much detail about all of these here, but if you are interested, I just wanted to make sure that they are all on this slide so that you can check it out when you want to and see which tool it is that you want to be using. Okay, so here is the no code versus code decision matrix. So if you're like not sure what it is that you should do, you're like, should I go no code? Should I go with a code approach instead? So I put this here because in the bootcamp, that's also like often the one of the first questions that people ask us is like, should I go with a no code approach or should I go with the code approach? Because we do everything that we teach in the bootcamp, you can do it with a no code approach and a code approach, and we show you how to do both, right? And this is kind of like a summary of how it is that you can choose which approach you should be doing it for. So the no code approach, the learning curve is going to be a lot lower. So it's going to have a visual interface, and it's also going to be a lot faster for you to develop. Of course, on the side of the code, it does higher learning curve because you need to know how to code. It's going to be slower, so days and weeks as opposed to hours, 2 days. Customization, though, the downside of a no-code tool is that it is more limited to the platform features themselves, and the scalability is also limited to the platform limits. While for a code-based one, this is where it really shines. You're able to have unlimited flexibility, and it's going to be highly scalable as well. On the cost side, platform subscription fees are here, and then for the code one, so this is a little bit deceptive, so I do want to clarify this. If you just like build something by yourself using no code, it's probably going to cost you more because of the platform subscription fees. While you do it with purely code, it's going to cost you less. However, if you're going to scale it up and actually build everything up and develop it and build it into something much better, then it is going to cost you more on the code approach, because then you're going to have to start paying for things like infrastructure, and a lot of like these other components there as well. But if you do want to scale, it is worth this amount of money, and it's actually just like not very possible to do that if you're going from a pure no code approach. If you want to scaling like thousands of people, right? And then having like full-on infrastructure and stuff like that. So in terms of maintenance, no code is super simple. The platform handles all the updates. You don't have to deal with that. And in terms of integrations as well, there's pre-built connectors, so you don't need to do that yourself. With the code one, maintenance is a little bit more effort because you have to manage everything yourself, but the integrations are actually pretty easy as well. So putting custom integrations in, it's really not that hard, especially with something called MCP. It's really not that hard to do these days either. So as a summary, no code is best for MVP, simple workflows, and business users, while for code, it's best for production apps, complex logic, and custom needs. The recommendation, if you literally have no idea, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Should I go to code with no code? If you have to ask yourself this question, start with the no code first, right? Because if you're like completely fully comfortable with code, you would just jump to the code approach. So if you're like, oh, I'm like kind of know how to code, kind of not sure, not really sure about this, then our recommendation is always like just start with the no code approach to validate your idea quickly, and then you can move to code when you need more control and hit platform limitations. So don't overthink this one. All right, let's see if there's any questions. Put into the chat. I'm assuming you're at this live stream because you want to build your first agent. Do you think you will go with a code or no code approach? Can we get the slides? Yes, you can get the slides. Whoops. Yeah, you can get the slides here. I shall link it again. You can, okay, I'm going to pin it. You can get slides here. So sign up here for slides. Oops, I pressed the thing. I should not have done that. Okay, let me do this. And of her bootcamp waitlist is going to be at lonelyoctopus.com, and so you guys can have all the links just there. Okay, great. I will pin this message. Okay. Okay. Code, no code. No code for me, code. Okay, good mixture, good mixture. No code, no code, code, no code. Code, of course. There's a developer there. No code, no code. Okay, a very good mix. Yeah, and that's totally cool, you know? Totally cool. Code because no code is boring. That is not, I don't think no code is boring. Do you need to know how to code to participate in Agent Bootcamp? No, you do not need to know how to code to participate in the Agent Bootcamp. Our bootcamps, yeah, like we have a code approach and a no code approach for every single part. So you can do both if you want. Some people like to do that, but you can also choose to do the no code one or the code one, and you're able to participate fully. All right, so let's talk about MCP very briefly. I actually just did a video on this, so you guys can check it out if you want more detail about this, but I do think it's quite important because MCP is a universal standard that lets agents connect to any tool or data source seamlessly. This becomes like much more important when you're doing a code implementation, although you can also build MCP servers and stuff like that using no code as well. So why does it matter? So the MCP really is something that made agents much more powerful because prior to MCP, it was actually quite difficult to provide different tools and memory to your agent. Say like you want to give it like a weather tool, then you need to connect it to the API. For the weather tool, it's like has a very specific set sequence that you need to do in order to connect it. And maybe you wanted to have like a calendar access, then you have to go a completely different set of sequences and connecting to that API, and you wanted to have like a database, then you got to go through that process again. So it was very difficult because you needed to have like this custom code to interact with all these different external tools. But with MCP, what it basically did is that it became a universal standard. So when you're connecting a calendar tool with a weather tool and another database, it all becomes very simple because it's the same way that you're able to access it. It's very similar to like a USB stick. Like prior to having a USB-C or USB-A, it was very difficult to connect hardware with each other because everything had its own like special little plugs, right? But after the universal standard came out, then using like USB-C, USB-A, for example, then it became a lot easier because you didn't need to have like a bunch of different ports. You can just use the same ports to connect things together. And because of this, there was a lot more innovation that happened. Yeah, so that's why I did want to cover MCP, because I think it is like a very core part of why it is that agents are becoming more and more powerful as well. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here because there's like a lot. Like we have literally like an entire week, an entire assignment in the bootcamp where we covered how to like build MCPs and stuff like that. But I think it is important for you guys to be aware of this. What's interesting is like people actually build MCPs. Some people do it for free, but people actually build them and actually like sell them as well because they are really, really powerful if you build really good ones. All right, so another step that you need to consider when you're building your AI agent is evaluations. So this is the part where you're actually testing and improving over time. Like for example, I saw like an error that happened over here, right? Like I'm like, oh no, like I ran into an error previously. So this is part of the testing and evaluation process that I need to do because I need to go back and like fix the prompt in order to make it better, or maybe fix other parts of the agent in order to remove as much of these errors as possible when I'm testing it. And instead of just like, doing random prompts and hoping to catch these errors, using evaluations is a way to systematically do this approach. So you're able to have like a bunch of different use cases, run evaluations on it, and catch a lot of errors that you might be getting. So why do we need to do this at all? So what doesn't get measured doesn't get improved. This is like a quote. I forgot who said this quote, but seemed important, whoever that said this quote. And I think it's a very good quote. So that's why you need to measure it so you can actually improve it over time. So how do we actually do this? The first step is to create test cases. So you need to build a spreadsheet with a lot of different inputs to test different scenarios. Then you want to run evaluation. So execute all the test cases and capture the output of the agent automatically. Then you want to analyze and adjust your prompt or retest to improve the performance over time. So this is the sequence of things to do in order to evaluate it. So common metrics for evaluation include like helpfulness, like how useful is this response? Does it match expected to structure? Correctness, is the information accurate? And custom, your specific business metrics. So these are all like things that you need to test for. But do pay attention to evaluations and testing. I think it's something that people don't tend to talk about as much because it's not as like sexy and cool as the building of the agent and demoing of the agent itself. But if you don't test things thoroughly, then you're going to have problems. See if anybody has any question. Any way to run agents 24/7 remotely for minimal cost? If you want it like to literally be running at all times, you can probably, if you want minimal cost, go with like open source models, and probably like just go with like super cheap models is how I do it. But I think the question I would ask you is like, does it really need to run 24/7, right? Does it really need to be running 24/7? I don't know if that's you. In almost all cases, it does not need to be running 24/7. There is other things that you can do. Like if you're just having a monitoring system, your agent itself, for example, doesn't need to be running 24/7. You can actually have other pieces of code that is able to evaluate if something needs to be monitored, and your agent will only get awoken up and triggered once something comes in that needs its attention. The agent, yeah, like I would really rethink that statement. Like, does it really need to be running 24/7? Is there an MCP in there? And where? How different is this from using Claude or Gemini or GPT-5 to build agents? So those are just different models, right? Like it doesn't actually matter that much like which model it is. You can switch it out pretty easily. It would matter in terms of the results that you get, but the overall infrastructure, like the architecture of the AI agent, you can switch out the models if you want. Yeah, it doesn't actually change the way that the model, sorry, it doesn't actually change the way that the agent is built itself. Okay, cool. So the final part of it is that you need to deploy and monitor your agent. You build a thing, you're so happy with it, wonderful, amazing, you want other people to use it. So that's why you need to deploy it. So here is a deployment checklist that we have on the side here. So test early, set up monitoring, enable guardrails, deploy gradually, and continuous improvement. I know we're a little bit out of time, so I'm gonna like not go into too much more detail about this, but this is the deployment checklist that you definitely need to go through to make sure that things are working correctly. So it can be as simple, like deployment can be really simple if you're using something like NA10. All you have to do is click it from inactive to active. Yeah, you're done, amazing. But it can also be a lot more complex if you're doing it through code and you care a lot more about how it's being deployed and, you know, how you're being monitored and things like that. So it can range from just literally clicking a button to something that's much more complex. And you want to have some sort of monitoring system. So maybe if your thing like breaks down, you want to know about it. Okay, so here are some common pitfalls that we've seen people do. We made a lot of these mistakes ourselves as well. So stuff like vague instructions. Your agent doesn't know what to do if you don't give it very good prompts. You got to be like very specific about it. Too many tools. This is a very common one. You're like, oh, I want to endow my agent with all the tools. This is actually not great because your agent gets confused because it has too many tools. And it's like, I don't know what to do at this point. So you want to start with 2 to 3 essential tools and only add on more when needed. No memory management. So if you don't have any memory management, your context just gets larger and larger as you continue having a conversation and getting your agent to do stuff. So this is going to end up having problems like token limits. It's also going to get quite expensive. And problems like that. So that's why you want to set token limits and summarization strategies too. Poor error handling, your agent crashes completely, everything black screens, not great. So you want to validate your inputs, catch the exceptions, and also implement things called graceful failures. So it's not like your entire agent just dies. That would be bad. Cost overruns, big one here. So things can get really expensive actually if you just let it spiral out of control. For example, if you're running your agent 24/7, that's going to be really expensive. So the solution is that you want to set spending limit, like hard limits, but there's also a lot of other things that you can do, like caching your results, having a database that's there, only running an agent when it's necessary. A lot of ways to reduce the cost. And then slow response times. So the problem is that maybe your users, maybe they love your tool, right? That's a good thing, but your users end up waiting too long for these results. So what you can do is optimize your prompts, reducing tool calls, and using streaming responses as well. So there are a lot of solutions for these pitfalls that we see. Okay, so we built this little visualization so that when you're building your first AI agent, like go through each of these steps. So define your use case, choose your tool, start simple, iterate, expand, and deploy, monitor. Whenever you create an AI agent, doesn't really matter how complex it is, always go through these steps in order to make sure that you have a good AI agent that is functional. Okay. Yes. So oh, I'm on time. I'm 2 minutes late, but let me finish this last slide. Okay, so the key takeaway here is that we covered 28 popular tools. You know, if there's a bunch of tools that are there, definitely check them out in more detail if you're interested. Start small with a single task and a single tool. Like I said earlier, like don't feel like it's so overwhelming that there's so much that's going on over here. You know, the entire bootcamp is 28 days, right? So like obviously I cannot fit 28 days of things into this entire presentation. So it's okay if you feel like you haven't covered, like you're not sure about a lot of these things that's happening over here. Just the only thing I need you to remember is that there's a step-by-step plan, and you need to follow this plan no matter what agent it is that you're building, and then you can add on a complexity as you keep improving your agent over time. How to choose between no code and code. Choose no code for speed, code for control. If you don't know how to code, obviously go with the no code approach. If you do know how to code very well, go with the code approach. Test extensively before deploying, or else you're going to have problems. And then iterate based on real usage. You want to keep monitoring and iterating and improving over time. Yeah, okay. All right. Let's see if anybody has any questions. Oh, I need to drink some water. Okay. Can you explain custom integrations? So integrations that I'm referring to, like custom connectors, it would be stuff like if we're talking about from MCP, for example, when you're integrating like different tools together into that is not readily available. Like what's readily available is maybe like the calendar API, right? And you just have that as an MCP server and then you can just use that and you're fine with it. But what if you want to have a tool or a combination of tools that you don't have direct access to? Then you need to build your own custom integration. So you're able to put together like 2 or 3 tools that are together. You can also add stuff like resources and like prompt templates and things like that as well. So you can grab everything and put them together into a server, into what is called like an MCP server, and then you can have that custom so agents are able to access it. That's a little bit more detailed about this, but that's what we mean by custom integrations. So building out your own combination of different tools and different usages. Would this live be available on the channel? Yes, the live stream will still be available. Don't worry. Bigger LMs are overkill for simple tasks. That is true. That's why like oftentimes when especially when we have multi-agent systems, you don't actually need to have like the fanciest model possible. You want to have the cheapest model that is the fastest model in order to accomplish your task. Like sometimes instead of using like GPT-4o, you can, or GPT-5, whatever, like you can go with something like GPT-3, right? Like we actually use GPT 3.5 a lot in a lot of our agentic systems, especially when you do like B2B clients and stuff like that. Like when we build solutions for B2B clients to reduce the cost for the client, a lot of parts of that agent we would like of an agentic system would be using like super cheap models and super fast models as well, because it's not necessary to have something that is really, really fancy for all of your sub agents. Yeah, like the cost actually does matter a lot, especially when you have a lot of users where it's being run a lot. It really adds up. What's an example of summarization strategy for memory management? That's a great question. So, say you have a conversation with your AI agent and blah, 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 like a lot of things that you guys talked about. Instead of having to store all of that information in memory, you can actually get the AI, like part of the agent, it would summarize the entirety of the conversation prior, only keeping in the important parts and only storing that part in memory. So, that's how you can reduce the amount of memory that needs to be managed. How did you learn all this about agents? Okay, well, I guess how did I learn all this? That's a good question. I learned a lot of things. I think that's one of them. So I do have it definitely helps. Like I used to work at Meta. I've been in the field since 2018. So like that was a big part of it. Doing like computer science as well. So yeah, I've been like here for a while. But honestly, a lot of it is also like we learn as a team. We have a lot of clients that we work with. So, especially like B2B clients, you learn a lot when you're working for different companies and different industries. And then you're actually seeing your solutions being implemented. So, a lot of it is real life experience because of the clients that we work with. Yeah, I guess if that answers your question. I also learned a lot of stuff online. Um, how do we make sure that our agents understand the business context of the use case we are trying to implement so that it can write test case for us? That is a good question. So, you know, the evaluations, which is the test cases themselves, right? These are often the most treasured part of an AI company. Like that is literally the most treasured part, not the agents themselves, but the actual test cases. And that's because you, in order to understand the business context, to write the best test cases to make sure that your agent is good, that is actually hard and requires good domain knowledge for very niche, for yeah, like very, very niche implementations, very niche domains. So in order to write these test cases, I don't actually recommend getting an agent to write your first few test cases. I think people should write their first few test cases because it's going to be a lot better. Like you can't be sure that your agent understands the business context for something, right? Like I really recommend in your first test cases to actually go and physically write them, or if you don't know what the answer is, go figure it out first. And after the first 10 test cases were the stuff that is more systematic, like making sure like what happens if there's no input, what happens if it's like, you know, random input, like that kind of stuff, like more technical stuff, you can get your agents to be able to write it. But the business context itself, it needs to be people. It really does need to be people, because if your agents understood all the business context, then anybody can build any agent, and then we would all be able to build really hyper useful agents, right? Like there would require no thinking. The agents will just build their own agents. I don't know, maybe that'll happen one day, but currently, that is not the case. Question: how much time do you recommend weekly for the bootcamp? So let's see. I would say very minimally 4 hours, 4 to 8 hours. Minimum of 4 hours. If you cannot spend 4 hours, then I do not recommend this bootcamp. Yes. So 2 of them is going to be spent because we're having like workshops and Q&A sessions, but you're also going to have like assignments each week in which you'll be building your own AI agents. So throughout the bootcamp, you'll be building minimum of 4 different agents. And there's also like bonus assignments and stuff where we're covering like MCP and these other things as well. Those are not required, but they are there if you want to do them. But if you cannot shell out those 4 minimum hours, I would say 4 to 6 hours is the minimum. 8 hours is like really, really nice. With 8 hours, you'll be able to build out the agents that we've showcased. You can do the code implementation, no code implementation, all of the bonuses, and you would probably also have time to actually build your own AI agent and be able to get feedback from us as well. So a lot of people who are coming into the bootcamp, they do have an agent in mind that they want to build. So what tends to be really useful is that if you can build, you're learning stuff and you're building out the agents for the bootcamp, but you can also build out your own agents and you can ask us questions during the Q&As, and also like we have a community as well, and you can ask us specific questions for how to implement your own agent. So if you can have 8 hours, that's like plenty of time for you to do all those things, but minimum 4. Is NA10 free or paid? So they do have a cloud version which is paid as a subscription. You can host it yourself, but you still need to pay for like API costs. Yeah, so NA10 is free, and yeah, they do have a free like 14-day trial, but there are other associated costs with it if you actually want to use it and build AI agents. It's not super expensive though, so it's not bad. Yeah, it has, thank you, Joe's free self-hosted option. Yep. If you don't use their cloud, you can host it for free. All you have to do is pay for the API cost for like the models themselves. Per week, 4 to 8 hours per day or week. No, per week. So 4 hours per week for the bootcamp, not per day. That's a lot. No. You don't need to do that per day. Is NA10 the same as Ball and Lovable? No, it is very different. Have I missed a lot? When did this start? It finished already. Actually, speaking of which, I'm gonna answer a couple more questions and then I guess I will leave. Hey, I joined your bootcamp. Oh, hello. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. We just finished the I can't tell who you are, Aspire, because I don't know your username. I can't match it to a name. But if you were you part of the cohort that just finished? If we miss a class due to work, can we review recorded videos? Yes. So everything in the bootcamp is recorded. Yeah, don't worry about that. Everything is recorded. You also have access to everything after the bootcamp as well, like lifetime access to it. So what people do is, because say we have the code implementation, the no code implementation, and a lot of the bonuses as well, it's fine if you can't get through all of it. You can download everything and you have access to it forever. There's also like a LinkedIn community, a private LinkedIn community where all the other alumni are there and people work with each other and they build stuff together as well. So yeah, don't worry about that. We understand. People are busy. Let's see. Any other questions? I guess I can switch back to me. Hello, it is me again. Any other question? Yeah, if you have more questions about like the bootcamp specifically as well, if you sign up for the waitlist, like we'll actually let you know when enrollment opens and like details about these things as well. So it does start on the 21st. So the next enrollment starts on the 21st at 11 a.m. EST, in case you're interested. Okay, seems like we're about done in terms of questions. But thank you all so much for joining. Really appreciate it. I hope this was a useful live stream. I think I covered a lot of stuff. From a scale of 1 to 10, how useful did you find this live stream? Like, I guess like how much did you get from this live stream? I want a rating. Basically, rate me from a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of the information density, how useful it is. I want to see how good of a job I did before I sign off. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. That's very sweet. You don't have to. It's okay if you hurt my feelings. That's okay. My goal is really like to cover a lot of these things to increase awareness for how to build it and also give you a clear roadmap in terms of like these are the steps that you need to do. 10 plus. Okay, okay. 9 plus. Okay. You guys are so kind. Thank you. I appreciate it. 6. Okay. Could use some improvement there. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it. I will take that into account and try to do even better next time. All right. Thank you all so much for joining today. Sign up for the workshop so you can get the slides. We'll send you the slides and additional resources and stuff like that on that email mailing list. If you're interested in joining the bootcamp, the enrollment goes out for the waitlist on October 21st, 11 a.m. EST. Do join the waitlist because we sold out like within 30 minutes last time only to the waitlist alone. So it's something that, thank you so much for doing that. So if you really are interested in doing that, make sure you sign up for the waitlist and we'll send you additional information there as well. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day, whether that be evening, morning, afternoon, strange hour of the day. And I'll see you guys in the next video or live stream. See you.